Hello, this is cybersecurity expert Reginald Andre, and we are in part two of our series that we're doing, and really just talking about and keeping you updated about what's happening with the city of North Miami and their cyber attack. This is actually now week number two that they've been dealing with this incident, and we got some new information today. And I haven't done this before, but there's actually going to be a reaction video. And what this reaction video is going to do is the city manager actually has now done an interview with WPLG Channel 10 here in Miami, and I'm going to do a reaction video to it. So essentially, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to play the clip. This is going to be the first time that I'm hearing it, and together we're going to listen to it. And whenever there's something a little interesting about his comment or about reading between the lines, I'm going to give that reaction. So let's go straight for it. And the reason for this video is not to embarrass anybody or not to put anybody down, because this is a really unfortunate situation. But our channel is for business owners, and business owners, you guys need to know, and you girls need to know what to do, how you should expect to act, how you should expect to respond when there's these type of cyber incident. So this is kind of why we're doing this, because 2 weeks in, it's a stressful situation, but I'm glad the city manager has finally agreed to go on camera and give some more information. So we're going to be watching this together. All right, here's the play button.
Today marks 2 weeks since North Miami employees logged on a hack attack on city servers. Criminals got in, how to handle a ransomware demand, and how far that breach extends. Councilman Scott Galvin is here, the first city leader to address publicly what has otherwise been kind of an information blackout. Welcome. Thank you for coming in. It's even got the first inkling of what was happening.
Sure.
I mean, why? I understand the sensitivity of it. There is. Why the information blackout? You had this meeting Thursday, was it? This past Thursday?
Right.
What do you know now?
All right, so that's a good question that she asked. Why this information blackout? So before I hear his answer, right, I want business owners to understand that when you have these type of attacks, there's one thing: the government got attacked and they're not telling anybody anything, because people are always going to need the government. But when you're a business owner and you have clients trying to reach you because they're trying to place an order, see the status, get the service that you provide, you cannot not communicate. You don't need to tell them the details as far as like, hey, XYZ happened or whatever the case is. But clients, they need to know that A, you're still in business, and B, that you're still operational. And if you're not operational, this is what's not working, this is what's working. You have to communicate. Not necessarily all the technical aspects of like, hey, this is blah, blah, blah happening with our systems, but you need to be able to have communication. So the first point that I'm going to do is that you have to have communication. And now with this communication, it has to be someone experienced. It can't just be the CEO of the company or the secretary of the company coming in and just putting out a statement. You need what is called a breach coach, and a breach coach typically are attorneys that specialize in these type of incidents. Usually, you want to get your insurance company to provide this, and they're going to be able to help work with you on providing right information, accurate information, and information that's actually going to help your clients. Because being in the dark, imagine your client in the dark for 10 days. They're trying to call you. They're trying to do business with you. And you're giving them Zippo information. Is the information even, and then the rumors are speculating, clients are going to leave you. So again, for the government to do this, yeah, people are still going to need to get their water bill process, right? They're not going anywhere. But if you're a small business owner, you cannot wait 10 days to tell your clients what's going on. All right, let's hear what the city manager has to say.
So the good news is that information is getting restored and systems are getting back up online within City Hall now, even perhaps within days, as opposed to even Thursday where we were talking about weeks.
So for city residents who have to pay cash for their utility bills, that is coming to an end.
Coming to a very quick end, it seems.
Does
yes.
that mean that the city has been able to get online around the ransomware?
So what they're doing is and clearly it's a very intricate kind of situation. They're going computer by computer, department by department, and seeing how far they can get toward restoring and installing anti-piracy software. And then as each computer is coming up, those folks can get back to doing some normal stuff.
All right, so he's saying a lot here. So the good news is that if you're restoring this, and again, I haven't heard the full video, it's 7 minutes. So if he's saying that they're restoring the systems, then that's good, because that means that, well, what that most likely means is they're reinstalling the operating system on the computers, which is a very tedious process, I agree. And it sounds like he's saying that they have a good backup. That's what it sounds like. But let's keep on playing to hear it.
The city can't, by state law, pay ransom.
Correct.
Did the insurance company pay? How are you doing that?
So the insurance company has not communicated to the city that they plan to, pay any ransom. If they do plan on doing that, I would think that needs to come back to the council. But
all right, so there's other reports that say this is, again, communication. There had been other reports that they kept on just saying, oh, this is just a cyber incident, air quotes, incident. It's a ransomware. This is a big deal. And as the reporter says, she's saying that there's a state law that says that municipalities are not allowed to pay the ransom. And now she's asking, well, is the insurance going to pay the ransom? Now, the good news is that if they have a good backup, you don't need to pay the ransom. But the reason you would want to pay, and I'm not advocating to pay the ransom one way or the other, but the reason why you may want to pay the ransom is because they have information. And if the ransom is not going to be paid, they're going to now find someone else to buy this. They're going to find someone to buy this information. And what I mean is that whatever sensitive information that they have, or whatever information they had, they're going to now sell it. And someone's going to say, oh, wow, you have the city of North Miami's residents' information, or whatever the information is, and they're going to put a value on it, and they're going to sell it. So maybe the city dodges the bullet by not having to pay a ransomware because they have proper backups. Kudos, but it's going to be really bad. It's going to suck for the residents if their information is out. Let's see.
I've asked to see the actual policy. I haven't been provided a copy of it yet. So until I'm able to read the policy and know what the parameters are, I don't wonder what circumstances.
Okay, you're the city manager. You've asked to see the policy. When you purchase your policy, well, first of all, before you purchase your policy, they're giving you a draft of, hey, this is what it's going to cover. This is going to be, the fine print. Have your legal. I mean, you just don't sign it, especially if you're city. You're not just signing a policy without looking at it. And then secondly, once the policy is binded, then the insurance company sends it and you have it on record. So ask to see the policy. I don't know about that. That should be on file. Now, unless the files are ransom and you don't have access to the files, and now you're calling your insurance company, but that's a matter of just calling the agent and just saying, hey, forward me over the policy. I need to look at it. So he could just be stalling with that answer. So, okay, that I may give to him because, he doesn't want to talk too much details. But if he truly is saying, I haven't seen the policy and it's been 2 weeks, your insurance company is the first thing that you should be calling. You should be calling your insurance company and saying, hey, I need help. And your insurance company is going to have a team that's going to be on the phone with you, especially if it's the city, within probably 24 hours the max. And they're going to say, this is what we cover. This is what we don't cover. Let's go.
That may or may not happen.
Right, because if the state law forbids a city to pay ransom, I mean, the letter of the law, the spirit of the law would be that the insurance company for the city, that would be kind of dicey as well.
You'd think, but that's why I've asked to review it, and hopefully, tomorrow being Monday, I'll hopefully have it.
So have you?
Let's talk about that. So what he's saying is he doesn't know if he's saying that it's like kind of a gray area. They're not sure if the insurance company can pay it because of this law, but we do know that with the city of Fort Lauderdale, they paid it. the insurance company paid it. Now, of course, every policy is different, but when the city of Fort Lauderdale had that $1.2 million stolen from them, and I use the word stolen kind of loose there because they gave the bad guy the $1.2 million. We do know that insurance covered some of it. So if they use that as a case to the insurance and say, look, another city in South Florida did it this way, they may be good on that.
Or anyone in the city been able to sort of trace what happened, because the mayor, Alex DeSolme, had a personal breach, a personal hack, probably within a month before. Has the city been able to determine whether that was just coincidental, whether that might have led to a larger citywide hack?
Sure. Certainly, and it's not the city that's doing the investigation per se. The FBI,
FBI is,
FDLE, are, to say the least. I mean that figuratively and literally. Nobody knows how and when they got into the system, how long they were there, how deep.
That's bad. Okay, so first of all, business owners, if you get hacked, do not expect the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FBI, anybody to come and help you. Your insurance company, if you have cyber insurance, is going to help with some forensics. And of course, your internal IT department, which in a sense failed. So for now it being 2 weeks and you still don't know, that tells me that there weren't proper systems in place to look for anomalies. Every business should have systems in place to know that if something weird is happening, an anomaly, right? Something unusual is happening on the systems, you're going to be able to pinpoint it. And you also need to have what is called logs, like basically records of all of the transactions happening in your emails, your computers, every single thing for that. These forensics people can now go in. So if it's 2 weeks now and they still, well, okay, hold on. We have a problem here. If it's 2 weeks and you don't know how they got in, but now you're restoring the systems, who's to say they're still not in? So this is going to be interesting because we've seen with a few companies recently in the last couple of months where they restored, it was a hospital, they restored their system, and you know what happened a couple of days later? They got hit again because the bad guys are still in.
Deeply they got into it, and you can make assumptions that the bad actors were probably there long before they made their presence known to us.
I apologize. Scott Galvin is not the city manager. He is the councilman. I apologize.
With the cyber message they put out.
And so to take that even further,
and I guess because he's man, I don't know if the council person, I would have had the breach coach on there, but let's see how he does. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm finding holes here. So let's see how he does. But I don't know if the councilman would have been the best person, but let's see how he does.
that means you don't really know if city residents have been victimized.
Correct. We don't know if they have, and we don't know if they have not. And there's so many levels at which
this is not good. You should have systems in place that if a file was open, because okay, let me explain it. When they do ransomware and they lock your files, but what they also do is they also typically will take your files. So if you don't have a system in place to know all of the files that have been uploaded to the cloud, uploaded to someone else's server, you won't be able to. There's no how can forensics do their job if there's no records keeping where the data is going? This is why you need logs. This is why you need a lot of cybersecurity tools so that these forensics guys can go and review the logs. But if there's no logs to review, you're stuck. It's kind of like saying someone robbed the bank, but there was no camera footage. Well, if you don't have the camera footage, if you don't have any witnesses, how are you now going to do this investigation? Do you see how much harder it's going to be, rather if you have some type of record?
People could have been exposed. Perhaps the bad actors only got into the water department and only got that kind of information. Perhaps they only got into the parks department and only got names of people that were registered for parks programs right now.
So much you don't know.
Right. There's so much we don't know. And the immediate emphasis was shutting out the bad guys.
That's good, right? Now, if you believe they got in the parks department, if you believe they got in the water departments, not if you believe, because those systems are still down. Have you notified your residents, letting them know that there has been some type of cyber incident, as you guys like to use that word, and says do not accept any type of emails, or not accept, but be on the lookout for any type of emails from the city. We will never ask you for your social. We will never ask you for your credit card information. And the reason I say this is because let's just say this bad guy, again, 2 weeks has been now, right? So this bad guy, the threat actor, has now had 2 weeks with their system. And let's just say they have, it's simple because he kind of made it seem like, if they have the parks department, no big deal. Okay, well, let's just say I had a baby shower and I rented the park. They're going to ask me for my name, my email address. There's some type of payment I'm going to have to make. So now what if this threat actor, the bad guy, sends out an email saying, hey, this is the city of North Miami. You rented pavilion number 2 at the park at the city's park, and you never paid your bill. Click here. I'm going to be like, what? I paid that bill. What are they talking about? Let me click on it, see what type of invoice I owe. And then I click on it, and now that click puts a malware on my machine. Or even better, that click now takes it to some fraud page that says, if you don't pay this bill within 24 hours, we're going to charge you a $500 late fee, or whatever it is. Or please enter your social security number to verify who you are. Like as silly as this sounds, wait, the parks department, why does the park department need my social? But people fall for this. This is why you have to communicate, especially if you're government. Communicate with your residents to let them know that there can now be fake emails, fake text messages, as if it's the city. Now, we got about 4 minutes left in this video, and I'm hoping he's going to say that, and I'll stand corrected. But if they're not notifying the residents, even if it's a precaution, you're not admitting to anything. You're just saying, look, obviously there's a situation. We don't know everything that's happened yet, but just to be under precaution, the city is not sending out any emails, any information. Be careful. Delete it, report it to us, etc.
And now getting things back up to where we can operate in a normal sense.
You know, what's really interesting is that when we first talked a week ago, you mentioned sophisticated these are. I mean, this is not unusual. There are cyber or ransom attacks. And some of the IT and cybersecurity experts that we were picking brains said not necessarily that sophisticated, which is really an interesting, when we find out what happened, would be an interesting backtrack.
Correct. There's for me, the last 2 weeks have been a great lesson in cybersecurity, things that you being compromised.
Well, let me ask you something about the city, because we mentioned that the fairly new state law, a couple years old, prevents cities from paying. That's kind of a portion of the law. The law is really pretty comprehensive about.
Okay, I don't know if they edited this or not, but what she was basically saying was these cyber attacks are not that hard to do, and I totally agree. These most likely what they're saying with the whole, and they didn't even talk about the Gmail account yet, but these cyber attacks are not hard to do because people don't have the right things. And that's one thing I always tell business owners is that when you have your technology line item budget, don't think of technology as just IT support. It's cybersecurity as well. And there's a lot of companies out there right now portraying to be, oh yeah, we're doing your IT support and we're doing cyber, but then they're a third of the cost. It's a reason it's a third of the cost. It's because they're not doing cyber. They're just doing IT support. And as long as things are working, they won't be able to tell the difference. Let's continue.
About a mandated training and protocols for municipalities.
Yes.
Has North Miami followed all of them?
You will. And so I see the messages that go out about ongoing classes, and make sure if you haven't taken this security class to sign up for it, et cetera, et cetera. So those things were ongoing, weeks and years before.
So there's not going to be any component this week of we find out that the city of North Miami did not do one of those things, and
I can't imagine. So obviously not having read that state law, not having, had a checklist with me.
All right. So according to the city of North Miami, they're training all their employees. They have phishing simulations. They're doing testing with their employees, which is great. Great.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, but
with my bullet points. So,
but I feel very confident that our IT department is very, very qualified and works very hard all the time, because so much of what a city does is reliant on electronic communication. So I think they're probably on top of things.
So what? We are still in the thick of it, but this week has had a lot of hindsight and, to your point, learning.
Right.
What can other South Florida?
I think they just need to have a plan in place. I think some of the news blackout that you saw come from us in the last few days was just everybody sort of being stunned. I don't think that it really had crossed anybody's mind. Why would somebody want to hack into a city?
Why wouldn't someone want to hack into a city? So he just pointed out there was no plan in place. That's been obvious. There's no plan in place. 2 weeks, you're just now coming on the news. You're just letting your residents, AKA your clients, know about more details about this. And obviously there was no plan in place. So yes, that is called tabletop exercises. Your company needs to be planning for these type of things. Your company needs to say, if Microsoft emails went down, if all the computers shut down, if there's no power, if there's no internet, if there's a cyber attack, what is the plan? How are you going to communicate with your clients? How are you going to communicate with your employees? How are you going to be paying your employees? All of those things need to be put in place. And as I mentioned in the video before, you still have people trying to make their water payments. Why haven't you told the residents that there has been a 30-day delay to pay your water bill payments? Why are you having residents go to City Hall to pay their water bills? Like, I still find that very stunned that they're doing that. Anything where payment is needed to be made and you're now having to inconvenience residents to do something, just pause it.
We don't have anything valuable.
You don't have anything valuable? Do you not have all of your employees' records, email addresses, phone numbers, driver license, socials, police station, all of those records, all of the criminal information cases that we've seen police departments get hacked? You're taking people's water bills. I mean, you got to do some type of social security run, right? Like, you got to do these type of things. So how many cities have been, let's see, in the last year in our podcast, we've probably covered that easily 50 cities, easily. So yeah, that's the wrong mentality. That is the wrong mentality. I always say, you're not too small to be hacked. You're just too small to make the news. And if you were a business right now and you were a small mom and pop 20, 50 person employee and you were down for 2 weeks, I wouldn't even be covering you, right? Because you're not big enough. City, you guys have to do better.
Well, perhaps you do.
Well, is there? Should we know about any compromising information, photographs?
Right.
Not necessarily money that they're after. Political retribution.
So obviously, there was crime committed, and the city is being extorted. So
this is a good question she's asking, because what they're basically saying is, like, the mayor apparently has had some. Now, he said it's not nude. He just says it's private photos. And apparently that's part of the ransom, where they're like, hey, we're going to release this, or apparently it's already been released on the computers. So that's kind of what she's talking about, because we know the mayor's Gmail account was compromised. That was a great question.
Individuals perhaps are being extorted, and you'd have to ask.
Okay, individuals perhaps may be extorted, right? Individuals perhaps may be extorted. Now, guys, if a hacker broke into my phone and looked through my pictures, and it's pictures of me and my wife and my kids, and at the park, at Disney World, on a cruise, or whatever the case is, the hackers is not going to extort me. Now, the hacker may say, "Look, you may not have a backup of these photos, and if you want your photos from your wedding 10 years ago, pay us, or else we're going to delete it forever." I could see that extortion, but hackers here to make some money. And if you have private, personal photos that's not on your Facebook, I think that's what they're talking about. I think that's what the hackers are talking about.
The mayor about what he's said in the press. I've not.
He's made statements, and we've reported those.
Right.
Well, I think there's a lot more to learn. I sure do appreciate you updating us, because in that information blackout, we like people who give information.
Right. And there's sensitivity around all of this, but
Yes,
there
of
also
course.
needs to be communication, because we have
Yes, there's sensitivity around it, but there's also needs to be communication. I think that's one of the lessons learned, that they did not communicate fast enough. They deflected it. They were saying, "Oh, nothing to see here. It's just a cyber incident," when it was clearly their employees were giving the news stations information that it was ransomware. And they were like, "No, it's a cyber incident." In fact, I'm sure if I go on their website, they're still using the word cyber incident. They're not saying ransomware.
70,000 residents, and
100%.
they deserve to know what's happening and not be left in the dark.
Yes.
And you can be careful with what you say, but that doesn't mean you say nothing.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what
Exactly. Be careful what you say, but don't say nothing. And unfortunately, City of North Miami, you have said nothing. We're gonna let the last 4 minutes play out, and then I'll give you my final thoughts.
we're here for too. Scott
Thanks.
Galvin, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Scott Galvin, a great job as far as and I made that. I had mentioned I made the mistake. I thought he was the city manager. He was actually a commissioner, so he's elected. I guess because he's kind of one of the face of the city. Probably it wouldn't be a good idea to put your IT director on camera, because he's more technical. He may not be polished to answer the questions. He may give too much information because he really knows a lot. So I like it in the fact that, although I think it should have been a breach coach, because they would have this is what they do for a living. Where Scott even said, "Look, I'm learning all about cyber in the last 2 weeks." So sometimes it's better to put someone who isn't as polished, because they can't mess up in the sense of give too much information, because maybe they weren't given all the information. But at the same time, it is also good to put someone polished, because they can answer the questions a little better for the viewers. Because at the end of the day, what did we get out of this, right? I mean, we learned what you should not do. But if you're a resident, what did you really learn? Nothing really. You didn't learn anything that you didn't know. It was obviously they didn't have a plan. It was obvious that it was a ransomware attack, so you didn't really learn anything. But kudos for him being an elected official, coming on camera. But again, City of North Miami, if you guys are listening to this, I have a cybersecurity company. We do training. We know there's bids and all of that stuff that you guys have to do. But when the dust settles, we would love to help you on providing cybersecurity services. Because one thing I always tell our clients is their IT support and their cybersecurity. There's two big differences. When your printer doesn't work, IT support. But cybersecurity, that's another layer. That's looking, and that's one thing too that we do for clients, is that sometimes they say, "Look, we want to have our in-house IT guys, because we don't want to have to call a 1-800 number and put in a ticket, and we want to be able to pull the guy by the ear, and we want to be able to just have them take care of the situation." That's understandable, especially for larger organizations. But we have a few clients where our technicians are assigned at the location. They can go there once a week. They go there when, a couple of times a week. They can be there full time. So there is that. And then there's also something called co-manage. So if you have a larger organization, you always need another set of eyes looking over your IT staff, because especially if they're not cyber, you need someone looking. So thank you, WPLG, for Channel 10 News, for providing this awesome interview. I think it was a awesome interview in the sense that, you know, it helped, although I didn't answer any questions, but I think all her questions were fair. There was no gotchas. She did a great job, and I'm actually going to be reaching out to her just to give her kudos on those questions. And we'll keep you updated. This is a series. This is part 2. This is number 2. I don't know how long it's going to go, but until we get all of the answers, and I have a feeling the fact that he came on to start the, like, sometimes it's better to, well, I won't say sometimes it's better, but he's trickling in the information, and the big information is coming soon. And as soon as that big information is coming, I'm definitely going to report on it and give you my take on it. But again, most importantly, if you've done business with the city of Miami, North Miami, or you're a resident of city of North Miami, be careful for phishing. Be careful for any type of text messages that's coming from the city, because it could be fake. So we'll keep you updated. Thank you so much, everyone.